everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. There's obviously lots of news going around at the moment, especially regarding Thomas Markle's health, who sadly has been hospitalised. It's very serious. He's had a leg amputated, and the last that I have seen, he was fighting for his life in the intensive care unit. Meghan is of course finding ways to make this all about her, getting certain favourable writers to vilify her father whilst making her out to be a victim, but I won't be discussing that in this video. I think I'll push that over into the next video. And then of course the big news, the clown of Montecito, who has reared his head yet again, insulting another country's head of state whilst his family is hosting another. But before we get on to him, I want to talk about the German state visit. Let's think of this as beauty before the beast. And who better to start with, considering we're talking about beauty, than the Prince and Princess of Wales, who had the important job of greeting the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and his wife Elke Budenbender from Heathrow Airport on the 3rd of December. Catherine looked radiant in a bespoke Alexander McQueen coat and a stunning hat by Juliette Botterill. This colour looks amazing on her, but then of course I say this with every video because I just believe that she is genetically blessed in every which way possible. But I am yet to see a colour. I do not believe that there is a colour in existence that Catherine cannot look $1 million wearing. After Catherine and William had officially welcomed the president on the carpet alongside the First Lady and the delegates that came with them, the royal couple then escorted them to meet with the King and Queen at the Royal Dais on Datchet Road in Windsor, where they were given the official welcome from their majesties as the smiling Prince and Princess of Wales looked on. Queen Camilla, I have to say, also looked very lovely as she was stood alongside the First Lady watching the military welcome as cannons were fired in the royal salute at Windsor Park and also at the Tower of London. After all the formalities were over, the three couples were then escorted by the Royal Cavalry in a wonderful carriage procession through Windsor and into the castle. All the beautiful pageantry on full display as we had such gorgeous sunshine and blue skies, which to be fair is a rarity this time of year. And there were some lovely photographs of Catherine and William clearly enjoying having the sun on their face rather than trying to dodge the rain for a change. The president was then taken through to the quadrangle inside the castle grounds for the official welcome, where the regimental band played both countries' national anthems. The president was then given the honour of inspecting the guards alongside His Majesty the King before rejoining the Queen and the First Lady and the Prince and Princess of Wales to watch the march past procession. After lunch in the state dining room, of which we were not invited and I do not have photographs of, the President and First Lady, alongside members of the royal family, viewed a special exhibition relating to Germany in the Green Drawing Room with items selected from all of the special royal collections. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester also joined the family alongside the German dignitaries that had accompanied their president on the visit. Catherine looked especially lovely wearing her 5-strand pearl necklace from her own collection. She was also wearing a pair of sapphire drop earrings that the late Princess Diana loved and once wore to the Met Gala in 1996. Catherine looked honestly gorgeous as she always does, but it's been a while since I've seen her with her hair straightened, and it's a reminder of how long her hair really is. It just looks so sleek and so glossy, and I'm completely jealous because she quite clearly won the genetic lottery when it came to hair. And it's something that not many of us are blessed with, but it's obviously something that she has passed down to her daughter, Princess Charlotte, who I'm sure the hairdressers are going to have just as much fun with as they do her mother as she gets older and starts attending more official events. Now, speaking of events and special, wow, just wow. We got an insider look into the preparations that go into making this magnificent fine dining experience for the royals and, of course, their guests of honour. Royal veteran photographer Aaron Chown, well, he was inside St George's Hall and took these incredible photographs. Every tiny detail makes it look magical, like you're inside a film. It can't be real, it's just too beautiful. The unbelievable amount of work that the staff do to make it look so perfect is truly commendable and breathtaking. Now, speaking of breathtaking, it wasn't just the table arrangements. Catherine, wow, unbelievable. She took my breath away. She looked like a cross between Elsa and Cinderella. She looked like an ethereal princess fairy queen as she glided into that room. That tiara, the oriental tiara, has got something so romantic to it as well. It was actually designed by Prince Albert for his beloved Queen Victoria, and it just looked perfect on her. Every single state visit, she knocks it out of the park, and I think to myself, she's not going to be able to top that look, and yet she does. I mean, a fairy godmother literally could have had a wand and gone bibbity bobbity boo. She looked absolutely beautiful. I love the tiara on her. I think she just looked like the future queen she is. And then when we got the joint picture, stood alongside Prince William, they just looked like king and queen already. And it was just one of those moments where I think to myself, she just cannot look any more beautiful. Now, it wasn't just Catherine that looked incredible. We knew that the royal ladies would knock it out of the park as well. The Duchess of Edinburgh, she looked so pretty. She had her hair down as well. She was wearing her aquamarine tiara. She and Prince Edward also make an incredibly handsome couple. The Duchess of Gloucester came in with the Princess Royal, and those two certainly brought their jewellery A game. But then saying that, the Duchess of Gloucester always does. She wears some incredible pieces and always looks phenomenal. Queen Camilla was also looking very pretty in a gorgeous teal coloured gown, and she was wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, which once belonged to Queen Mary. There was a lovely photograph taken of their majesties as well. I think this is one of my favourite ones, to see them so dressed up, because normally Charles, it's hard to get him to smile on camera. When he smiles, he has got a lovely smile, but I think at these formal events, he just Charles has resting bitch face, is all I'm going to say. So to see a nice one of him smiling alongside Camilla is always lovely. In fact, there were some incredibly lovely photographs of everybody throughout. I mean, the state banquets are always something to behold, aren't they? All of the pomp and the pageantry, the beauty. It truly does blow my brain every single time. And another person who's definitely worth a mention, who was a guest, and she happens to be one of the finest exports to ever come out of Germany, is supermodel or ex-supermodel Claudia Schiffer, who was wearing this Balmain dress. This blew my mind as well. I thought this was such a stunning and really different dress. I've never seen anything like this. Just exceptional. It's just a shame that they sat her next to this clown. Now, speaking of clowns, in the middle of this hugely significant state visit, which was incredibly important because the royal family have a knack. It's a soft diplomacy that only they can deploy, and it helps strengthen ties with other European nations. This is the second European country who we have hosted this year in a state visit. And it is important because at the moment, the world is in a very, very dark place. And politically, if you read or listen to a lot of the stuff, we seem to be teetering on the edge of another potential war. So this is really important to keep our ties and our relationships with other leaders of other countries, heads of states, incredibly warm. And then up pops this prize-winning pillock who decides to take political pot shots at the current POTUS, who was only dining with our royal family a few months ago in his very own state visit. This, of course, has left many people open-mouthed at the sheer undignified stupidity, lack of self-awareness, and just complete and utter hubris of this absolute muppet. In fact, I think a muppet has a higher IQ. And yes, I'm talking about a Jim Henson puppet controlled with someone's hand up its arse. But then saying that, a lot of people think that's Meghan's job. Harry's appearance on the recently cancelled and uncancelled Stephen Colbert Late Show is another own goal for Harry, especially with his popularity stateside. As a British prince who's involving himself in American politics, well, it's a very, very dangerous path that Harry seems to be walking. Not just insulting the United States president, but also a large number of people that voted him in. Harry made jokes about Americans electing their very own king. This is referencing the anti-Trump No Kings protests, which was several large demonstrations that broke out all across America where people were expressing their outrage over his second term and his apparent agendas. Now, before anybody starts angry typing at me, this is not a political video. I'm not talking about politics in the United States. Don't start arguing with each other. We are talking about this chump and his brass neck. Perhaps this is why Harry got booed as well, according to people that have reported that watched the show. I'm not watching it. I can't stand Stephen Colbert, especially after he laid into the Princess of Wales. He was totally on board with the Where's Catherine campaign. Remember when that was all going on, when Catherine was going through cancer treatment? And he decided to throw into the mix the Rose Hanbury made-up affair rumour, which resulted in Rose Hanbury getting in touch with her legal team, who then fired off a legal letter, and he had to give some sort of half-assed apology where he said, "My jokes, I know, upset some people." Not exactly an apology at all, considering this is two families, young children, and he added to that sort of pile-on. It wasn't funny. This is the man who Harry is choosing to go on his show with. So what does that tell you about Harry? Absolutely everything. But Harry's jokes about electing their own king didn't stop there, because he continued on by saying that Americans are so clearly obsessed with royalty after they made such a fuss and a big deal about my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, King George III, obviously talking about the American Revolution. If Harry continues with this sort of behaviour, which seems to be uniting Democrats and Republicans at their disdain for the fact a British prince is getting involved in politics, then he might just find himself on the end of another revolution as he's chucked overboard. In another apparent comedy skit, Harry auditions for a role in a fake Hallmark movie called The Gingerbread Prince, where he said he would do absolutely anything to get the part.
But listen, Stephen, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I'll record a self-tape. I'll fly myself to an audition. Settle a baseless lawsuit with the White House. All the things you people on TV do.
Oh, he could settle a baseless lawsuit with the White House? Oh, okay. So it's another dig at Donald Trump. This is obviously just a swipe by CBS or Paramount, because they had to pay Donald Trump a lot of money due to a doctored speech of an interview with Kamala Harris, all to do with the presidential campaign. I'd imagine that Harry doesn't even understand what he's joking about. People in glass houses shouldn't be throwing stones when we think about the amount of baseless lawsuits that Harry has started in his war against the media. Harry is absolutely playing with fire at the moment, and it's very clearly obvious that he is being political from the moment he sat on that bench looking like Forrest Gump without the box of chocolates as his wife nervously watched him to make sure he said the right things. You only have to look at the organisations and the people that Harry teams up with. Stephen Colbert, very anti-Trump. Most of his jokes, if you can call them that, are very politically motivated. Then, of course, you have Hassan Minhaj, who was recently, Harry appeared on his podcast, very anti-Trump. What about Jonathan Haidt, another Haidt or Hadith, I don't know how you say that, but he appeared on his podcast as well. Guess what? Absolutely hates Donald Trump, incredibly vocal about it. Katie Couric is another one. everyone they tie themselves to is very, very strong in their democratic positioning in politics. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I don't care which side of the fence you're on, guys. You know, this channel is not about politics. What this is about is me bashing Harry for sticking his British nose into American politics. Meghan can do what she wants. At the end of the day, she is a US citizen. Although it didn't go down well with Republicans or Democrats when Meghan used her British gifted titles to try and lobby senators. Harry is the problem here, where he is doing something so very stupid. He's insulting the country that he currently lives in. He's on a special visa, despite, as I said, for his drug admissions, that allows him, no doubt, to probably not pay a penny in tax. He's trashed their First Amendment, which he called bonkers. His foundation apparently has links to the US aid money, probably why their tax returns are yet again overdue. They're trying to find where they can hide the details. He's a commissioner of the Aspen Institute that is deeply involved with the US government's policies and political lobbying. I'd say that he's already on extremely rocky ground. Now, when it comes to Harry's very unfunny jokes on the Stephen Colbert show, it's clearly obvious that Harry did not write them. It's pretty standard for that level of comedy, if you can call it that, on The Late Show. It's very political and very biased. Harry is little more than just a performing monkey. He will clearly do and say anything that he's paid to do. Now, maybe somebody out there could make those jokes work, but it doesn't work for Harry because people do not see Harry as funny, because he has spent the last few years showing what a nasty, entitled, arrogant, bitter, petty, angry man that he is. Now, thankfully, from what I'm reading, he seems to have only damaged his own reputation rather than that of the royal family. He has further embarrassed himself, in most part because he is simply not funny. And that is something he certainly seems to have in common with his wife, who did her fair share of jokes on her latest holiday episode.
This feels like fondue. You've never heard anyone say fondant.
Those two trying to tell jokes is about as funny as a boil on your arse, I would say. And on that note, I would say that the king needs to employ Dr. Pimple Popper and take care of it. If anything, they just embarrass themselves further. It's their own reputation that gets more of a paste in, if that's even possible. Every time these two appear trying to be funny like this, it just makes us more embarrassed that they hold British royal titles. So the time has come, that boil has got to go. So guys, on that gross note, I will be back with you very soon for, of course, some more real royal news and a little bit of the ex-royal news. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you soon. Bye.